All right, perfect. Well, thank you everyone for coming out. Really excited for today. We've got kind of something fun planned for us. Um, I decided to do more of a Zoom meeting instead of more of a webinar type for today because I want it to be very easy to interact, to ask questions, and I want to kind of have some fun with today. So what I've prepared sort of, I guess you could say an exam of sorts, a quiz or a test or an exam, just to kind of test your knowledge and and we can kind of have a discussion about these questions as we go. So pretty excited. Hopefully you've had a chance to watch all the training videos. These questions are going to come from those training videos, the previous webinars that we've had. And the purpose of them is not necessarily, the purpose of the questions. I don't hope that you know these things just off the top of your head and you just memorize a bunch of stuff, but that you're well equipped to find the answers if you need to, right? So, if no one has any questions out of the gate or concerns, then we'll go ahead and get started um, with the questions. So. I'll just share my screen here, move a couple things around, and we will get started. Awesome. So the way that I kind of want to do this is I kind of want to go one by one, and if you, let's see, move things around here. If you want, you could unmute yourself and respond, or we could, or you could throw a response in the chat. And some questions would be better for others, but we'll just get started here. So I would encourage you to follow along in your own Google Sheet. There will be some questions where you'll want to kind of follow along, and in different parts we'll be working on some formulas, right? But we'll just start with the first one. First question is true or false? GitHub is only in Google Sheets and no other business intelligence tools. So we'll give.
Oh.
We will go ahead, Jennifer. You got the answer. I think we'll go ahead and we normally for the next few we can give people a few seconds.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, y'all.
Ready to go, Jennifer. That's good. What is the answer, Jennifer, and why?
It's false.
Okay.
We do offer a data hub in other applications other than Google Sheets.
Perfect. That's great. Yeah. So DataHub is in other platforms, other tools. We've only done trainings on Google Sheets here, but we're gonna, after we go through this exam and such, we're gonna move on to others. But right now, you could access the Data Hub in things like Looker Studio or Tableau, and a variety of others. So that is false, which is great. Anyone have any questions about that? Next is question 2. So if I'm in the Google Sheets, I'm working with the formulas. If I leave an argument blank in the Google Sheet formulas, Data will return all rows and columns. So we'll give everyone a couple of seconds. And I've got another tab over here to kind of do some testing. I'm curious. And actually in this one, let's do it in the chat. Let's do it in the chat. So we'll give it another 10 seconds. Think about it. And put true or false in the meeting chat. All right, you can enter your responses. All right, we've got two. What do people think? We've got a true and a false. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'll answer this over here. I guess there's a couple of meanings here, and maybe a meaning that I hadn't thought of. My initial intention in this question was if I leave an argument blank, um, for example, if I just type in raw, let's do raw orders. If I leave everything blank and I hit enter, I actually will get all of the rows. So in that sense, it is true that if you leave some arguments blank, for example, if you don't include any columns, and in this case, there's so much, so there you go. So if I don't include anything in my formula, I will get all of the columns and data if there is data. However, Perley said something that is also very true. And that is if you put something in a formula, let's say, let's try, if you put something in there that doesn't make sense or is misspelled, and you get something that looks like this, and it's just blank, that would mean there is something wrong. So in that, I guess there are a couple of ways of thinking about that. I'm glad that we brought this up. It's true in the sense that if you don't include a date range, or you don't include a venue selector, or you don't include a column, you will get everything from all time or all columns. But Perley makes a phenomenal point. If you're getting something like this, that does mean there was a problem with your formula. So that's awesome. That's a great bit of discussion. Any questions about that before we move on to the third one? And feel free to unmute yourself and talk. I do want this to be a little more interactive, a little more fun. If not, then I assume everyone's like crystal clear and we're good to go. So, okay, perfect. So we'll move on to question 3. Last 15 days is a valid date range. What do you think? Go ahead and post post in the chat. All right, Crystal says false. Thanks, Crystal, for being so on it. What do other people think? All right, we've got a couple. Crystal or Pearly, can either of you unmute and say why it's false?
Actually, when we check on formula metrics and there's available data ranges, so actually there's only 7, 14, 30, 30, 60, and 90 days only. So there's no 15 days validate range on the choices.
Okay, that is perfect. Well done. Thank you for answering that, Pearly. So if we go to the data dictionary and we come over to formula metrics, we have last 7, 14, 30, 60, and 90 days, but there is no last 15 days. So well done. That was a perfect answer. Any questions about that? That was awesome. If not, we'll move on to question 4, which is the listings marketplace data has an update frequency of daily. True or false? What does everyone think? Go ahead and post in the chat. Farley says false. What else? Anyone think differently before we talk about this one? Jennifer says true. Savannah says true. Awesome. So to answer this, the best way to answer this is we'll come into the data dictionary again. So go to the data dictionary. We'll come over here. Let's see that. We'll come over here to table descriptions. And then we will come down to listings. So right here, the listings has an update frequency, and I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see it a little bit better. Has an update frequency of daily. So it is true, right? So this is the perfect place to find how often our data is updated. So if you come in here to the data dictionary, come into table descriptions, that's got all of the tables that we bring in and how often those get updated. Some are real time, some are daily, some are a few hours. So if any client has a question or you're kind of concerned about how often, this is the place to go. So that's awesome. So in this case, it is true. The listings marketplace data is updated daily, which is awesome. Awesome. We'll go on to question 5. True or false? Price underscore discount is a column name in the order items table. What do we think? Crystal says true, right out of the gate. She's quick. What do other people think? I need some Jeopardy music or something.
Do, 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 do. Sorry, everybody.
All right. Okay, we got several truths. The answer is true. So if we come here to the data dictionary, again, we'll come over here to column descriptions. And usually what I like to do is I just like to control F and look for price underscore discount. Okay, if I can spell. Perfect. So price discount is a column in the order items table. So that's true. Just awesome. Okay. Again, you don't need to know where the price, if the price discount is in the order items table off the top of your head. That wouldn't be, I don't know about you. I don't even know that. That's just that's too much, right? But I do want you to know where you could find that if you needed to, right? And so learning how to use the data dictionary, learning how to use that tool is awesome, right? Cool. Well, anyone have any questions about part 1? We are going to move on to part 2, and it's going to get a little bit harder. It's going to get a little trickier. So if you've got questions, now would be a great time. Just go ahead and unmute yourself anytime, and we can talk about it. So no one has any questions, then assume you're all experts. So cool. Then we'll move on to part 2. Awesome. Okay, there's one more true and false question. If we're getting an error window from Google telling us to make a copy of the sheet we're using, the best thing we can do is make a copy. Jennifer says true. Rose says true. Awesome. The answer to that, I guess we'll give it a second here. Anyone has any disagreement? The answer to that is true. Typically, this happens more when you're trying to copy a template or working with a template. But if you get a big old pop-up that says, you know, something about, oops, you know, something's wrong, make a copy. Sometimes I'll try to close that little window out and see if things still work. But 9 times out of 10, if there's an issue, all you got to do is come up here to File, make a copy, make that copy, and everything should work as well. Just great. So there's a couple of videos in the Data Hub training courses, which you guys have watched, about different errors that we can get, different kind of things to look for. But when there is some sort of bigger error, excuse me, copying data or making a copy is a great way to fix that. So, which is awesome. Great. So now we're going to move into question 7. So this is where it's going to be important that you have your own Google Sheet open. And what we're going to do here is when you have an answer, go ahead and just paste your formula into the chat if you're comfortable doing so. So we're going to start using the formulas. So question 7 is, what should I type? That's kind of how all these go. What should I type in Google Sheets if I wanted to return, in this case, data from any venue, data from last month, and then the following columns: impressions, clicks, name, and campaign type. So we'll give everyone, this one takes a little longer. What should you put in there? What formula should you use? What should the formula look like? And there are more than one right answer, right? There are some wrong answers, but most of these, there are more than one right answer. So I wouldn't be too worried about, you know, is it exactly right or not? We'll give everyone let's give everyone another minute. Awesome. So it looks like Crystal has thrown in a response in the chat. Thank you, Crystal, for being willing to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy her formula, and I'm just going to come over here to testing and paste this in. So she's got SL_raw campaign performance, default name selected last month, impressions, clicks, name, and campaign type, and look, there you go. She's got something. So Crystal, that's a perfect response. That's awesome. We wanted data from any venue, data from last month, and those columns. Oops. Crystal, would you be willing to just unmute yourself and kind of talk through what you thought through in order to get there? Because you were quick, you were fast. How'd you find that stuff quickly?
So I just checked the data dictionary and checked which table contains all that information. That's why I choose the campaign performance, because it has all the data that we need, like the impressions, click, name, and the campaign type.
Okay, that's a phenomenal answer. So what she did is she opened up the data dictionary and she went to column descriptions and she just searched for where those columns were, right? So she found impressions, clicks, name, and campaign type, and it was in the campaign performance feed. So that's the one she used. So that's a perfect response. You could have done a couple of different things, right? You could have had a different venue selector. And I think there might be one other type of formula that you could have used, but this is a great response. So that's awesome, Crystal. Well done. Anyone have any questions about that or concerns? We've got a quiet bunch here. If you have a question, we'd love to talk through it. But that's a perfect response. All right, we will move on to question 8 then. So we want to pull in data from the US venue, data from last month, and the following columns: parent ASIN, title, sessions, page views, and units ordered. What would be a good example of the formula? And we'll give this at least another minute, and then we'll post some answers in the chat and look at them. So we'll give it just a minute. Awesome. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have a response. And if not, that's totally fine. We can give it some more time, but just so that I know, go ahead and raise your hand if you raise your hand when you've got a response and you're ready to go. I see Crystal's got her hand up. Anyone else? Anyone else able to figure that out? If not, I want to walk through why we're having trouble. If you did. Awesome. So we've got a couple of responses. Let's check them out. So tornado testing. Let's see. So Crystal had one. Let's see what this one looks like. Amazon, raw Amazon traffic. US last month and the columns. There you go. Well done. That's perfect. Got parent ASIN, title, sessions, page views, and units ordered. Looks like Pearly also threw one in here. Let's try this one out. This one's a little different. It's fun. It's great. So Pearly threw something in here. We got a blank response. Let's look why. Really quickly, US venue should just be just US. So let's try that. So this is actually a great kind of thing to talk about. So this one was with the raw Amazon traffic formula. This one was with orders group by. So if I go to the orders group, if I go to orders, I come down here and I'm look. Can I move this over here again? Let me come back over here to my question here. The thing I like to do is I like to look for, do I have the columns here that I would need? So I'm looking for parent ASIN, title, sessions, page views, and units ordered. So right out of the gate, I don't see in this table, I don't see a parent ASIN or sessions really. So orders might not be the formula that I want to use. What I'll do is I'll look for, let me look for parent ASIN, and right there, there's actually only one place where I can find this, and that would be in the Amazon traffic table. Now let's say I looked for title. I think that one appears more often. Yeah. So in this case, title appears more often. But really quickly, I could look at the listings. And I don't really see a parent ASIN or a sessions, so I know that's not the right one. Order items, same deal. There's a title in order items, but I don't see a sessions or a parent ASIN. So maybe this isn't the right one either. And little by little, I can make sure I could come down and find one where I had all of those. So parent ASIN, title, sessions, page views, and units ordered. So in this case, this orders group by would not be the right choice because it doesn't have the columns that I need. Okay, so in this case, the Amazon traffic is the formula to use. There's also another one which would be, the other one you could use would have been Amazon traffic group by. That also would have worked. So does that make sense to everyone? I'm actually really glad. Thank you for being able to throw in another answer. That's actually a really good learning opportunity. So thank you for putting that in and being vulnerable enough to throw it in there. Does anyone else have any questions about that? I think you guys catch on so fast. There's just no questions, which is great. Any questions, Jennifer, from your side and the customer support team? Does that make sense to everyone over there? Any questions?
I'm just waiting to see if my team says anything. I don't have any questions as of right now.
Cool. All right, I got a thumbs up from Savannah. So if everyone's good, then we'll move to the next question. They're gonna get a little bit trickier as we go. So here we go. Question 9. I want to look at data from last year about my orders. I want to see timestamps, and I also want to see where they were getting shipped to and the total number. This one's a little trickier. We'll give this one at least a minute and a half. And when you've got an answer, just raise your hand. That way we know you've got an answer. And then when everyone's had a chance to do it, then we'll start throwing some answers in the chat. So we'll give everyone a minute and a half, 2 minutes. This is a little tricky. Okay, that's been about 2 minutes. Does anyone have a response and is willing to throw it in the chat? We can talk about it. And if not, I can talk about how I would go about doing this.
Just for me personally, I'm stuck either between the purchased products by Target or the AMS hourly traffic.
Okay, perfect. So let's go over here to testing, and this is kind of how I would do it, or kind of think about doing it. And there's a couple of different ways, and Jennifer is alluding that there's a couple of different ways. But I want to see data about my orders. I want to see timestamps, where they're getting shipped to, and then maybe the total number. So first things first, we'll come here to testing, my little testing tab, and I'll come to the data dictionary. It's kind of the go-to. Right out of the gate, something I want to do is I'll type in orders. At least if it were me, this is what I would do. If I was looking for some kind of data, I would look at orders. So there's a couple of, we've got an orders. We've also got an order items. And honestly, there's probably a couple of other ways that you can do this. A couple of different kind of formulas that could work. But in this case, we'll just go with the most straightforward, easiest we could do. So orders, and let me remind myself, I wanted to look at the timestamp. So created timestamp, modified timestamp, maybe whatever, and then ship city, and then a total. So let me try that out. Let me close this. Let's do SL underscore. In this case, let's do raw orders. I think I said any. I don't think I specified a venue, so we'll just do default. Date range. I said last year. It's great. And then columns. Let's just do created timestamp. What else did I say? My memory's lacking. Okay.
Where they were getting shipped and the total.
The total number. Okay. Let's do timestamp. City and total. Okay. In this case, that's a lot of data. So last year and the account that I'm working with right now, I think I have too much data here. Yeah, let's just do, I'm just going to do last month for the sake of pulling in data and showing. Okay, perfect. So in this case, I want to see, and if you had like a smaller business, if you will, you can do this. I'm working with a venue that has a lot of data, but it's timestamp, so we can see these are all from last month, so June, and I'm looking at the city that we're shipping it to, and then the total. So, does that make sense to everyone? How I got there, what I was looking for? Any questions about that? I know that was a little tricky, but hopefully that helps. The go-to for me when I'm looking at any sort of data, I go right to the data dictionary and I click Control F and I just start searching for the data that I need in the simplest and best way. So if you have questions, go ahead and unmute yourself about anything. But if not, we'll go ahead and go to the next question.
I have a question, Josh.
Yeah.
Actually, it has two options like created TS, created underscore TS, and modified TS. How will we be able to, to know if it's created TS or modified TS to use?
That's a great question. For me, when I have that sort of question and I'm wondering about it, what I'll do is I'll usually throw in the other column. So in this case, it was modified timestamp, I think, modified TS. I think that was what we were looking at. And I can pull in, sometimes I'll pull in both to see kind of what's going on. In this case, let me go back to my orders here. Okay, so in this case, this is a little bit, this is a kind of a tricky example, if you will. But if you're kind of wondering about what column to use, if it's the right one, sometimes what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll find created timestamp and I'll look at modified timestamp. And then I'll come over here and I'll look at kind of what the data means. So the created timestamp is when that order was created. And the modified timestamp, it says last time that SETA Labs database was modified. So in this case, the created timestamp is probably when that order was created. And then the modified timestamp is maybe when it shipped, right? So my question here was a little bit, wasn't as clear. Wasn't clear about what timestamp. I just kind of wanted one. But that's a phenomenal question. Usually I go look at, you'll notice in the column description, there's table, column, type, data source, and description. And usually that description can give you hints or insight into that data. But Pearlie, that's a phenomenal question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. That's a phenomenal question. And that's something that you'll come up against when you're kind of helping a client with some data. He or she wants to know something, and you're like, okay, where would be the best data? Kind of go in there and just kind of mess around. And oftentimes, I'll usually just throw in both in the formula. If worst comes to worst, I'll throw in both, and then look at the data, look at what makes more sense. So phenomenal. Okay, we'll go on to question 10. Okay, so very similar, but in this case, we want to look at data from the US marketplace from this date range. So from February 5th to April 5th. And I want to see sessions, page views, and units ordered. This one, we'll give this one 2 minutes as well.
Josh, just to confirm, the format of your date is month, date, year, or date, month, year?
That's a great question.
Is
So
that, yes,
go ahead, Crystal. What'd you
yeah,
say?
is that like May 2 to May 4 or February 5 to April?
That's a great question. What I have here, this would be February 5th to April 5th.
Mm, okay, thank you.
I'll change that here. That's a great question. Awesome. So we'll give it another few seconds. I know that question that Chris asked, that was a great question. That might have shifted some people's formulas. So we'll give it another second or two. That was a great question. Thank you, Crystal, for verifying. And then we'll hop into some examples that are getting sent. Perfect. So it looks like we've had a few people throw in some formulas. Let's look at them and let's see what they say. So the first one here. And again, there are a couple of different ways of doing this. So if your answer looks a little different, chances are it's probably right as well. So, okay, in this case, here, let me do this. Perfect. So let's see. The first one was from Crystal and looks perfect. We've got SL_raw, Amazon traffic, the US marketplace, and then we've got the date range. If you didn't know how to do the date range, if you come back into the data dictionary and come into formula metrics down here, it talks about how to do a date range. And it looks like all of these date ranges that got put in were perfect. So if you were having trouble with that, that's where you could find that. Looks like everyone did amazing. But that's perfect. So we're looking at data from February 2nd, 4th, or from April 5th, excuse me, with sections, page views, and its order. Let's try another one. I'm actually going to use yours, Jennifer, just as an example here.
Okay.
So Jennifer she typed hers and then she immediately said, hey, mine's wrong. And actually this is a good learning and good use case. So this was Jennifer's. And it's very close to being 100% there. And all she needs is the venue, right? So if she put in US here, let's see, there's like a format weird thing here, and then a comma, that'd be perfect. So the other thing is this formula would either need to be SL raw Amazon traffic
Yeah, it needs to be raw. Sorry.
or it could be SL Amazon traffic group by. So it could
Yeah.
be either of those. But if we put a raw underscore, then we would return information, which is phenomenal. Let's see. Savannah and Pearly had some, and it looks like they are the same. It looks like they're awesome. So great work, everybody. Great work. That's awesome. That's a tricky one. So anyone have any questions about that? That was through 10. Let's see if we can't go to part 3. We've only got a few minutes left. And I have 3 more questions. Yeah, 3 questions. And I think we can make it work. So let's hop right into the 11th. And if we're running out of time, then I'll help out answer. But let's just start with number 11. I think we can finish out here. We'll be quick. Okay, same deal. I want to return data. I want to return data from any marketplace, last 3 months, and I want the columns to be date, parent, ASIN, title, sections, page views, and units ordered. But I want to see my data on a weekly basis. We'll give it at least a minute, maybe a minute and a half. All right, it's been a minute and a half or so. Does anyone have a response? Okay, looks like Crystal just threw it in there. Okay, and then Curly did as well. Let's throw these in here. Let's check them out. So I'll take the first one here. Crystals, start in here. We've got an Amazon traffic group by, default, last 3 months. And then we've got parent ASIN title, sessions, page views, and units ordered. Let's look at this one more time. Parent ASIN title, sessions, page views, units ordered. Okay, perfect. So there's maybe a couple things missing here. Crystal's almost spot on. Let's just throw a date in here. Date. And there's one other thing, just a one really small typo. So in the part 3, we asked about grouping on a weekly basis. So in this group by, that's how you would show data on a, by day or by week or by month. And there's one little thing we just need to put by, we just need to put week. Put by week. Then we're seeing our data on a week by week basis. So almost spot on. Perfect. Does that make sense to everyone? Does that make sense, Crystal? Just a couple of really small little things. We'll date and then by a week. Other than that, flawless. It's perfect. Let's try out, let's do from Curly here. Let's try this one. So similar deal, we've got SL, Amazon traffic group by, which is great. Default, great. Last 90 days. Then we've got date, parent ASIN title, sessions, pages, user source, and order. So that looks awesome. Something interesting here I want to point out is the difference between last 90 days and last 3 months. And I didn't specify here, so Pearly, this is great. And Jennifer, this is also great. But if I say last 3 months, it will look at the data. So this month is from July. So it will look at the data from April, May, and June. However, if I put last 90 days, that will include also these, because today is July 18th. That will also include July as well. So notice this is just kind of an interesting point of information. Last 90 days and last 3 months are technically not the same depending on the date, right? So again, last 3 months, I would just look at the last 3 full calendar months. Last 90 days, it's just the last 90 calendar days. So, but all of these look great. All of these are awesome. So we'll hop right into the next question, see if we can't finish up. If you have to leave right at 9, then feel free to go. I think we started about 5-10 minutes late. I think we can finish up in the next 5-10 minutes, so I think we will. We'll just keep going. If you do have to bounce for whatever reason, feel free. But let's hop right into the 12th question. We want to look at data about keyword performance. It's a little hint. From the default venue from last month, and the columns keyword text, impressions, clicks, cost, units sold, 30 days. We also want to group the data by keyword text. And I want to see the data with the most impressions on top, descending. Okay, so that's what we're on. We'll give it another minute and a half or so.
Oh gosh.
All right, so it looks like Pearlie's got an answer. So let's hop over there and see what we got here. Let's delete this one, this last one, copy this over. Okay, so we've got SL keyword performance group by. Default venue selector last month looks great. We want to see keyword text, impressions, clicks, cost, units sold 30 days. We want to group by keyword text, and we want to see impressions greatest to top and going down. So Pearlie, this is perfect. So well done. That is phenomenal. And looks like, yeah, looks like Savannah also has a perfect answer. So well done. That was a tricky question. So
Josh, what's the difference between Seller Labs raw keyword performance and just Seller Labs keyword performance group by?
that's a great question. So that's actually a really great question. Let's talk about that. So if we go over here to SL, and I just type in, I think you said raw keyword.
Performance, yes, sir.
Great. So notice in this case, and this is a great formula. I've got a venue selector, date range, columns, and then criterion. So in this case, I can pull in data from all of my columns, and then I can filter that data. The difference is in, let's see, sorry, it's gonna be finicky with me. In the keyword performance group by, notice that I have additional arguments that I can throw in my formula. So in the group by, and in this case, this is important for this example, because I can group by and order by where I cannot in the SL raw keyword performance. So in this case, the question was, I want to see the data grouped by keyword text. And so this is Pearlie's example. She did a phenomenal job of saying, I want to group the data by keyword text, meaning I'm only going to see one row of data per keyword. And then the other tricky bit was I said, I want to see the data with the most impressions on top descending. And so she put in impressions descending. So we're seeing the most impressions all the way down. So does that make sense, Jennifer? That's a phenomenal question. A great difference between these formulas.
Yes,
And
thank you.
Pearlie and Savannah, those were perfect examples of something very tricky. If we wanted to see clicks at the top, all we'd have to do is change this to clicks descending. And then we'd see with the greatest clicks all the way down. I think the other one I said was cost, and that's the same deal, right? Same deal. I can do cost descending, and there you go. And to touch on Jennifer's question just a little more, I would not be able to group by or order by if I were using the SL raw keyword performance formula. So well done. That's well done, everyone. That's phenomenal, phenomenal questions, phenomenal work. We will finish up with the very last question. And this is actually awesome. So this is, if I wanted to return data from the product ad performance group by formula, from the US venue, I wanted to look at data from the last month, the columns date, impressions, clicks, costs. I want to see only one row of data per week. And I only want to see rows where impressions are greater than 100,000. What is wrong with my formula below? Okay, and this is a tricky one. I thought this was going to take some people a little longer. Pearly just, boom, she had it. Pearly, do you want to unmute yourself and tell us why that is? Why that would be?
Actually, the week as group buys actually on the first before the ordered buy. So if you wanted to see that if you wanted to see the impressions that are greater than 100,000, so you must put having, so that it will be, as per ascending into you will see 100,000 and up. That's actually
That's
that's I remember on the last training that we had.
yes, that's phenomenal. So I thought this was going to be tricky, and if it was for you, that's really cool because I thought it was tricky. Pearly nailed this. Phenomenal answer. So notice if I put that in right here, SL product at performance group by, I've got my default venue selector. Last month, I've got my columns. I'm grouping by week, so I want to see data on only a week basis, and I want to see only data where the impressions are greater than 100,000. If I put that in, I get nothing, right? However, to Pearly's point, if I put having here, I do get some rows, okay? Now, why is that? The tricky thing with the group by formula is if I were just to leave this blank, without the, in fact, actually this is what I'll do. I'll throw in having here. Go like this. If I do it without the filter, this is what I see. So I'm seeing from last month on a week basis, I'm seeing several different rows, right? We got 69,000 impressions, 197,000, 53,000, etc., etc. Notice that I'm grouping by week. So if I were not grouping by week, I would see a bunch more data, right? So I'll show you how that looks here. I'd see basically for every day, right? I see basically every day of the whole month, right? Now, when I put week in, I'm seeing all that data summed by week, okay? Now, if I put a filter in, which is what we're doing here, if I put in, I want to see in columns, I want to see rows only where the impressions are greater than 100,000. If I don't include this 100,000, basically what it's looking for is it is looking for rows of data that have greater than 100,000 impressions before the group by, right? So I'm looking at, that would be like saying, hey, I want to look at the rows of data in this case where the impressions are greater than 100,000, right? Which doesn't make any sense because the max looks like I have is 35,000, right? In fact, I can throw the week in here as well. I'll paste it in here. When I include having, when I include the having, that puts into effect this filter after the group by. So basically, I'm looking at this data now, and I want to see only the rows that are greater than 100,000, which I do here. So awesome job. That is the end of our little test today. Does anyone else have any questions about that? Or about anything that we covered? If not, I would say everyone, well done. That was awesome. I'm really impressed. There were some tricky questions, and you guys did an amazing job. I will post this recording as well as these questions in the Data Hub training course. So if you want to look over them again, feel free. I will also include the answers in the version that I post as well. So you can go back and study. You can watch the video. And that's phenomenal. Moving forward, this is kind of everything we've got for Google Sheets. We're going to start moving on to other platforms to train you guys up on. But I'm really impressed. Well done, everybody, on that exam, on that test. Some really tricky questions, and we'll see everybody next week. Anything else, Angeli, that we want to talk here before we finish out?
I'm all good on my end, so we'll have one more session, I believe, for next week.
Yeah, I think we'll keep going. Yeah.
All right, sure.
The end to the Google Sheets session, but we're gonna go on to a couple other things. But now, I mean, clearly everyone's a pro at Google Sheets, so right. So
Yeah.
thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thanks for sticking late. I know we went over our time, but well done, and we'll talk to everybody next week. So.